can you give the people out there listening on TNS radio and to Out of the Bag a rundown as to a bit of your history? Tell them who Dean Clifford is, what you're doing, where you're coming from, why you're doing it. It's all yours. This is the Dean Clifford Show. Go for it.
Oh, man, the self-description, man. I sucked at this in school, too.
You got to do it. You got to do it.
Well, I guess more importantly than anything, it turns out I'm actually Irish. So that's the first part of the biography here, I guess. Actual bloodline is turns out to be Irish, raised by an Irish family in Canada. And I suppose this is why most of the world, the bankers and the governments, don't like the Irish a whole lot and have tried to destroy us for a millennia. We just don't tolerate bullshit. It must be in our genetics. We just don't tolerate bullshit. We call bullshit. We don't believe pricks when they lie to us. And my journey started about 15 years ago when I started up my construction company fresh out of university. And my first run-ins with income tax and the income tax gang here, Canada Revenue Agency, which led to a bit of a 4-year battle with them, not knowing a thing about law and just believing that people were actually supposed to be good taxpayers and we're all doing our part like we're supposed to and the usual horse shit. And kind of came across a website when the internet was still pretty new and websites were getting to be out there about 12 years ago, and I came across a website that pointed out the fact to me that the birth certificate name was spelt in all capital letters, and they were calling it a corporation. It's not really you, and there's a con job going on, and I probably did the same thing that most people do when they first come across this information is you pull out your birth certificate and you look at it and you go, those bastards. And so right away you know something's going on, and back then information was pretty sketchy, and 99% of the information out was wrong or incorrect presumptions or something, so it set me on about a 12-year path here to figure out what's going on, and that's kind of where we're at now. Things have really come together a lot in the last couple of years with learning law and learning what our rights are and learning how to fight the government and keep them away from us, and more importantly than just keeping them away now I want to bring them in closer because now I actually want them to do their job. I don't want them to go away. I want them as close as possible, and I want them doing their job. And we're going to make them.
Dean, you're going to use their laws, their systems, their way of governing, if you like, and throw it back in their faces to tell them to do their job properly.
Well, yeah, all those laws that they try to convince us apply to us, they don't apply to us. They only apply to them. Every time they pass new laws, I say, oh man, thank God, they're passing more rules for themselves. This is fantastic. I mean, how much more ridiculous can it get? None of this stuff applies to us. And again, 10 years ago, we were pretty black sheep in society. A lot of people didn't like us. They'd always tell us that we're moochers and we're leeches, and I'm sure they would have thrown rotten fruit at us if they could have, and they told us to pay our fair share like they had to, and don't use the roads if we don't want to pay for them, and we do these stupid arguments you could only come to expect from a generation of people that watch TV and get all their information from the news and from watching CIS on the television. And just stupid, ignorant people has been our biggest problem, actually, not the government. We got to realize that 98% of people a few years back would have fought to the death to protect this system. And now things are starting to change where people realize, oh, wait a minute, we don't have it very good, actually. Maybe these guys are right. Let's start talking about this. And everybody knows something is wrong.
Yes.
We all know something's wrong.
People are waking up, aren't they? I mean, the information is out there on the internet. It certainly hasn't hit.
Man, the last couple of years, yeah, I guess all it really took was a couple people to stick their necks out there and say, you know what? Enough of this. Fuck it. We're like, I'm done. This is getting really bad now. And last couple of years, I think now, especially last year, I cannot believe the momentum and the number of people getting involved and the amount of information that's out there and the amount of better information that's out there, even though there's still the odd scam artist still in pyramid scheme that's charging thousands upon thousands upon thousands of dollars for stuff that's just getting people in trouble. Slowly but surely, as we get more information out there and we get more vocal and we get more of a solid group together, we're weeding those kind of people out. And we're able to reduce the amount of victims, you could call it, of people in the law movement that are falling for con men, if you want to call it that, trying to make a fast buck off of getting people in trouble by giving them improper remedies in the courts. So that's one of the reasons I kind of came back stronger here again the latter part of this last year. I kind of had it for a while. I was done with people. I'd had enough of people not listening, and you know, they're looking for the next big thing out there, the next guy to come up with some new thing that is incredibly cryptic and stupid, and I just walked away from it. But I had an incident there this summer here actually, where I had a run-in with the border guards and the RCMP out in Canada. And then followed a month later by them tasering my brother for no reason. So that's
Oh,
brought me
really?
right back into the limelight, and I sent them off a letter letting them know, you know what? I told you guys that if you let me be, I'm going to let you be. Since then, you've taken another truck. I've had to deal with the RCMP, and one of them tased my brother, so I'm in this now. One of us is going down, and it ain't going to be me. So let's get at her.
So listen,
So
you're taking these guys on in the courts, are you?
taking them on everywhere, absolutely everywhere. Nothing is safe for me right now. I got criminal charges against police officers out in British Columbia and Canada here. I just filed 56 criminal charges against 2 police officers. I will be privately prosecuting them. I'm flying out there November 21st for the first hearing to have warrants issued. I've got pending lawsuits against the government of Canada, the province of Manitoba, the city of Winnipeg, the municipality where my farm is located. I got 10 police officers here locally that I'm going to be taking on right away. I'm bringing it to them now. I've had it with this shit. I want them to be terrified that the next guy they pull over might be somebody like me.
Absolutely. Okay, listen, I do have a few questions that have been fired in from various TNS friends. Now, I'm coming out of Dublin instead of my usual Galway, so I can't see the chat room, but I have been sent certain questions by text with people who knew that, Dean, you were going to be on the show tonight. So maybe I'll run through them and we'll see how we get on with them. But just from my own point of view, I would love to be in a position to be able to walk into a Garda station, that's a police station over here, and basically report a crime, and it being our government for treason, or our government for poisoning our water, or various other things which are crimes. Now, I don't know where to start, and I think we need to talk much further in the future for us to do that properly, okay, without making mistakes and basically being dragged down by the system. But that's where I stand on things. I think the Irish people have a right now to know that they're the governing bodies here are criminals. That we're being mass medicated with fluoridation in our water more than any other country in the world, which is why we have possibly a bigger dumbed down mass here than anywhere, because the Irish spirit is really being killed. And you said earlier that your Irish connections and your Irish roots has made you the man you are, if you like, because you don't take shit. TNS, take no shit. That's what we are too. Okay.
Nice.
Not just the land of the free, but the Vin gave me that one a while back, and I think it's brilliant. I think taking no shit is where we should be going. These people are criminals. We'd like to bring our government down, and today we launched a new political party as it happens. So today is a very historical day here in Ireland. Dean, you're joining us after me and very many other people, great people from around Ireland, meeting in a hotel outside the government buildings. And planning a brand new political movement party to take them on. So we're going to do that, and I'm going to talk to you much more about that in the future. But I have these questions for you. Number one is, what do we say in court because we keep getting railroaded? Now, that's the wording. That's the wording of the question, how it came in. Yep. So basically, people are being pulled over all the time or arrested all the time. What do they say in court to stop that from happening?
Well, interestingly enough, this is going to be a twofold response. Now, number one, I'm going to tell you, I receive emails all the time from people in the UK, and I think even a few from Ireland, where people are putting a lot of the information that I've given into practical application, and they are winning in the courts.
Okay.
So the cases of people winning are increasing all the time, because people are starting to get the most important thing you could have in the courtroom, and that's a set of balls. And that's to stand on your ground. And when these people try to say stupid things like, oh, you're one of those free men, or, oh, this is going to be one of those arguments, well, I'm just going to tell you right now that kind of stuff doesn't fly in my courtroom, blah, 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 blah. And they start talking shit. You have to know to not take that shit from these guys.
So from my point of view, Dean, does that mean that we're going to be held in contempt of court, aren't we?
Absolutely not. And here's the most important reason why. This is the second part of the question, the answer, I guess you could say. I keep telling people that before you show up at court, you should have already won, which means you should already have documents filed with the clerk, and if the clerk won't accept your filing, then you send them in registered mail to the director of the courts, along with now a criminal complaint that the clerks refused to take your paperwork when you went down there with it, or they tried to tell you what you can and cannot file, or affidavits don't go into court files. There's some of the stupid shit they say, but then people just believe it. They're just hoping you go, oh, that guy actually believed that you don't file affidavits into the court. Well, of course you do. Where the fuck else would you put them? Right? But if they can make you believe they're horseshit, then it stands. So you have to get all your paperwork in before you even show up for court, and you have to default whoever your adversary is. And the most important adversary, we call them crown attorneys over there. What would they be over there? The prosecutors.
Absolutely.
What are they called?
Do you know what? I don't know. The prosecutors, yeah.
Don't know? Okay, it's just prosecution. So
they're all the same here because I think the prosecutors and the defenders are working for the same people.
It's probably the Crown, yeah. So either way, you got to default them before you get there, which is get them to not reply to a number of facts that you're claiming. And then you can actually motion for dismissal right away. But and here's the most important thing that I've rephrased recently so that more people can understand what I'm meaning by when I say they have to correct their status before they go to the courtroom. Because status is everything in the legal system, which is your title. What is your title? Because we're all just, according to the common law or the natural law, we're all just man.
Yes.
But in the legal system, we have titles. Man doesn't mean anything because we're all equal. So it comes down to titles. What title do you hold? And this is important. I'll get to why this is important, but it's the same reason where, for instance, say hockey. Right? It's not important the name that's on the jersey. What's important is what position he plays. What is his title? That's what's important in the game of hockey, right? Okay. That's Bob. That doesn't do a lot of good. Or he's a man. Well, of course he's a man, but what position does he play on the ice? Well, he's center. Oh, okay. He's the centerman. Now I know who he is in regards to this game. Now I know his title, his position, and what he's supposed to be doing on the ice. This is no different than in court and when it comes to your person. Now, their courts operate on presumptions, and they're presuming that you're the lowliest sack of shit janitor that exists in the legal system when you walk in there, because that's who they've called. That's who they've summoned. They've summoned you in a certain capacity. And if you were to equate it to corporate law, they've summoned the janitor.
Right.
And when you show up and you're there and you say, hey, I'm a man. Well, of course you're a man. All janitors are men. Somebody has to do the janitorial position. Right? Everybody that works in a corporation is man, but they all have different titles. Like when you work at a corporation, you get a promotion. Do you ever get a promotion to man? Do you get a promotion to the title of Bob, your name? No, you become the director of marketing or a sales associate manager or something, right? You have a title. And
so what is our title, Dean?
Well, that's where we can start to get into some interesting things. So that's where people are going wrong. You can't go into court and say, I'm a man and I have rights. That's not what's going on in the courtroom. You're in the legal system. There's charges. And they've summoned you in a certain capacity. And you're not going to like that capacity. But then everything you've done in your life has led them to believe that that's the title that you carry within their organization. That's one of the trustees, one of their trustees, which is a Roman civil officer. And everybody that's ever been charged, if you go look at the actual charging instrument, the instrument that is the actual charge, your first name is going to be spelled in upper and lowercase, and your last name is going to be spelled in all caps. Mm-hmm. And that's capitis diminutia media. That's a Roman civil officer. That is an officer or agent of the crown. So whoever's brought you into court is claiming that you are one of their officers. That's the title you hold. So you have no human rights. You cannot claim human rights. And I've got case law to support that, and we can cover that later if you want to remind me again. Sure. So the first thing you have to do is correct who you are and let the court know that your adversary has made a false claim against you. And you're not there to appear in the capacity they've summoned you in, because that's not who you are. I am not an officer of the crown. I am not an agent of the crown. I do not work for the government. And if you have that established before you already get there by sending registered mail to the Crown and clarifying that and giving them 30 days to reply, otherwise they default and they have agreed with you that you are not one of their officers, and then you go and you file that into the court before you get there, well, you just really fucked some shit up to do with their case, because now there's no cause of action. They have no presumptions they can operate on. You've just rebutted everything. They have no jurisdiction, and when I mean that, I don't mean the court has no jurisdiction. I mean the Crown has no jurisdiction to bring you into that court. And you let them know the only reason you even showed up is because you are of the understanding that if you didn't show up there, that they would simply send police officers out to arrest you and kick your teeth in and bring you there, and the next time would be in handcuffs. So you're just there to correct the record, and that is it. And you have
that's the only reason you go into court. Otherwise, we would not be going in there at all.
If you go in there to argue statutes, you're fucked. And here's the reason why. And I think I'm missing out a very valuable piece I was going to get back to. But over there, I use the example Tim Hortons a lot, because that's like a popular franchise coffee shop here in Canada now that seems like they're taking over the world. But it's just like McDonald's, okay? If you got called into a meeting at McDonald's, you got this notice in the mail that you have to show up on this day at this time at this office of McDonald's for some kind of a hearing because you broke McDonald's policy when you were on duty on your last shift.
Okay.
But the problem is you don't work for McDonald's and you never have. Well, unfortunately, their courts operate on the presumption that you are an employee of McDonald's and you were on duty at the time of the complaint. And we never rebut those presumptions. So that presumption stands as fact. But we never hear about that. And that's part of the scam, right? Would you ever show up to McDonald's and spend the whole night, the night before, going through McDonald's policies for the McDonald's restaurants, finding a defense to what their claim against you is in their policies? Well, no, according to McDonald's policy, blah, 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 subsection this, subsection that, when an employee misses a day or something, la, 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 la. Would you ever show up and do that if you don't work for McDonald's?
No.
You'd show up and you'd say, fuck you. I don't care about your policies. I don't work for your fucking corporation. Who are you? What is your complaint? What is your cause of action? What is your standing to bring a complaint against me? And you don't want to get mad at the judge right away. You want to get mad at the guy that brought you down there, your accuser. You want to face your accuser.
Yes.
Who are these people? Because they've made false claims against me. I don't work for McDonald's, and I never have. And if they're claiming I did, what's my title? What do I do at McDonald's? What function do I perform? Under what policy or program at McDonald's do I work? Where's the payroll records? Do you have a witness that can testify that I work at McDonald's and they have personal firsthand knowledge of that? No? Then fuck off.
Brilliant. Dean, I think we all should grow a pair of balls like yours and really
You have to. I mean, and don't start with that, but as soon as the Crown can't answer that, or you already default them. Well, I already contacted these guys by registered mail. Here's my registered mail. Here's the receipt. They received this. They didn't reply to any of this after 30 days. Here's the notice of default, and you get that all stamped by a notary. So, motion to dismiss right now.
Absolutely, yes.
For lack of cause. There's no cause of action. These people have made false claims against me. And by the way, this is my notice to them right now that I'm taking them to court civilly, and I'm going to sue them for damages against me, right? But that judge now has a duty and an obligation to dismiss these charges against you unless the Crown can present any evidence to the contrary, because now you're the only one that's brought any facts in. Everything else was presumptions that they were operating off of. You're now the first one to bring facts in. Now it doesn't matter whether your name is John or Bob or whether or not you have human rights or not. The Crown can't prove standing. They have no cause of action.
Okay, but by
the
going
cause
in
of
there,
action. Sorry, go ahead.
By going in there, are you not recognizing that court and therefore giving them a bit of power, no?
Absolutely not. No, the court has jurisdiction, right? And again, that's why you say the only reason I'm here is because I know that if I didn't come here today to correct the record, that you would send bobbies by to come and kick my teeth in and throw me in jail. The next time I come in here, it'll be in handcuffs.
Yes.
And then I'm really going to be screwed.
Okay, well, I've got another question.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
So I'm here because of duress and intimidation.
Understood. So
duress
the second part of the question.
Yep, go ahead.
No, there is a question here. Somebody out there wants to know, what do we put into affidavits? Now, that could be a whole new ballgame, but there's the question. It's what do we
affidavits
put
are plain
on an
statement of
affidavit?
facts. Plain statement of facts as you understand them. right? Things that you could just defend, which is why you always want to keep it simple. And I really love making my affidavits in the form of a negative averment. And what that means is it's like a negative statement of facts. Like, I've never seen or been provided with any facts or evidence that demonstrates that I am an agent or officer of the Crown, right?
Okay.
I can say for an absolute fact that I have never seen any facts or evidence that demonstrates that I'm an agent or officer of the Crown.
So keep it simple and tell them as it is, and I don't belong to this system.
That's called a negative averment. So what you've done is you've placed it on the burden on your adversary now to say, oh, well, here's some facts or here's some evidence that demonstrates that. So now you've rebutted all their presumptions and you've phrased it in a way that it compels them to come up with the facts that prove otherwise. That kind of stuff. The other kind of things in an affidavit you would do is, for instance, like if you got pulled over for a speeding ticket, and you were ignorant enough to hand over a driver's license without qualifying it by saying, well, I have this, but it's not mine, it's the property of the state. And then you wind up having to go to court for a speeding ticket. You would just put a simple affidavit like, at the time of the complaint, I don't believe I was acting as an agent or an officer of the Crown. I was simply exercising my free will and my natural right to travel. And I've not been seen or been presented with any evidence to the contrary. You'd put that in an affidavit.
Okay, I'd love to know if there are templates out there that we can use, and so we can all get to know this information.
I really don't like templates, and I'll tell you why. The government loves templates, and that's because for the first 10 years everybody was doing this. People were giving out templates full of garbage and nonsense that threw everything but the kitchen sink at whoever they were going after, hoping something would stick, and nobody even knew what the documents said. In fact, I think 5 or 6 times out of 10, because it was a template they got from somebody else, they would even forget to change the name somewhere in the document. So the name from the previous guy that used the template was still on there. So they know that they know you don't know your stuff. And you have to be able to stand on your documents. You have to be able – when you know enough about this, you're not even going to file documents anymore. You're going to go in there and you're going to verbally annihilate people.
Okay, so what should people be studying or reading up on?
Well, we're trying to get as much information as we can out there. There's a lot of good information that's getting out there now. I made a comment on Monday's show here in Canada that we started doing weekly now that a couple people thought was pretty humorous. And the comment was, if people want to get smarter, read something a smart person wrote.
Yes.
So you want to know law? Go read something about natural law that somebody wrote 200 years ago, or go read anything. Go read stuff down the states. I recommended that people go read stuff that, for instance, John Adams wrote, or some of the signatories to the Declaration of Independence, and see what they wrote about law. And other than that, just start doing your research. We're going to be providing as much as we can here in the short term. But again, let's get back to that. Okay. Let's move on to some of the other questions.
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm actually not being able to see the chat box at the moment, but there is a nice guy on Skype who said he's going to type a few of them into me as you've been speaking. People have obviously been trying to get in contact, excuse me, with me to ask you questions. Unfortunately, with the technical difficulties we had tonight, it hasn't happened.
I would say with what we're going to be talking about tonight, maybe people have a better idea of where they can go to start researching things. And one of the things I've really been promoting lately, especially, is I've noticed this movement, this natural, and I call it a restoration of law and order, by the way. So a lot of people in the government circles like to call us anarchists, like we're trying to promote people be lawless and break the law. Mm. And I think that's hilarious, right? That's like what the first rule of war is: always accuse your adversary of what you do.
Absolutely.
Right? That's what they're doing. There's no law in their system, none whatsoever. And that's why a guy that steals a chocolate bar 3 times in the United States can go to jail for the rest of his life. 3 strikes, you're out. And some asshole on Wall Street can steal $1.5 billion and he gets dinner with the president.
Absolutely. I mean, these are criminals, but then so is the president.
There is no fucking law. There's no law. We want to return to law and order where law applies to everyone equally. We're actually trying to bring back law and order. So I love the expression lawful rebellion that people were using a few years back, because that's what it is. It's a lawful rebellion. We're actually trying to bring. How sad is that the people they consider being rebellious are the ones trying to restore law and order? How sad is that?
Yeah, that is sad. So what can we do?
Bad that we're rebelling to restore law and order. So,
What
anyways.
can we do to help bring the system back to order?
Learning your rights.
Okay.
And that's why I loved the comment I heard already earlier there about how people for the price of what they normally pay for fags and booze could donate to your radio station to help you guys out. And yeah, that's a very big thing I used to tell people too. I used to say, look, you know what? I've got a donate button. I'm out here giving us all information for free, and I'm trying to help people out as much as I can. But sometimes people even bitch and complain about, having to pay $30 to come to seminars that we used to teach a year ago. And I'd say to these people, holy fuck, like you people smoke and you drink.
Exactly.
And you want to learn your rights, and you bitch that I'm charging $20 to 30 hours across Canada to come and try to teach you guys your rights, and you're complaining.
Well, listen, I did get a question in here. Kim McMenamin, actually from Forum for Change, a good friend of mine up in Donegal, which in fact was one of the one counties that voted no in our recent referendum, and the only county to actually do it. He's helping me out with some questions. And TRP on the main chat room says, you have been making claims against the government Crown for a while now. I have seen nothing that he has actually been paid. Have you ever gotten money? Is the question. So it fits in with what I just said.
When I do, you're going to know all about it. But what I've done is I've actually done some very uncomfortable things from them, or to them, I should say. And ask me again about that in about another month. And the quick answer to that is no. Have I got a check? No. And am I ever expecting a check? No. And do I ever want a check? No. And the reason is very simple. What's far more valuable to me than money is them fucking off and leaving me alone.
Absolutely.
I can make money. I work.
Absolutely.
I do make money. I don't need a check from them. In fact, if I did get a check from them, I would only get it just to prove my point, and then I would rip it up, and I'd tell them to fuck off. I don't want your money. I don't want your dirt shit money. Take it back. I can make my own money.
Yes.
I just wanted to prove a point. Either that or I'd cash it and I'd give it all away to somebody, or I would use it and I would donate it entirely to the movement that I'm kind of trying to get going right now, the new nation that I'm building. I would fund that with it. But personally, I don't need money. What the fuck do I need money for?
No, none of us do really. We're just in a system that demands it.
No, you know what I want? I want to be able to go to work on Monday morning in my truck without any government plates on it and be left alone. That's what I want. That's more valuable to me than money. I want to be able to exercise my free will. Yep. Right? And the only way to harm them is we can harm them in their system. And people have to understand as well is that we're so ignorant that it's taken years to figure out how to actually go after them in this system. And that's actually bringing me back to the point I was finally going to get back to when we were talking earlier about people are getting railroaded in the courts. Yes. And to do with their status not being properly established. We've now figured out, I knew this before, but the better way I say it now is the only thing more important than the question that you're asking is who's asking it.
Yes.
Right? We have to make sure that we know who we are in this system, because who they presume we are, we have no standing to be asking any questions or making any complaints against them. Because in their law system, their legal system, in their courts, they operate on presumptions that we are the lowest rung on the ladder. We're the guy that even traffic cops have to obey. And traffic cops are the janitors of the police force. Even detectives despise traffic cops. Okay? But we have to do absolutely when a traffic cop stops us, if we don't do everything he says, we're going to find out that we probably should have. Right. That tells you how low on the rung we are viewed in their legal system. And the interesting thing is, and I always say this in every video and every interview I've ever done, is that everything that's going on right now is a mirror image of reality. Because the reality is we are actually the principals here. We are the highest authority. Their system presumes us that we are the janitors of the legal system, the lowest ranking officer that there is. Where in fact we are actually the creditors of the government. We are the highest authority. So it's a mirror image, and we have to establish that. We have to make it a matter of public record, and once we do that, now when we say jump, they're the ones that have to say how high real quick, or they're going to find out that they should have just started jumping. And we're getting to that point now. And I've had many things happen in the last couple of months I mean, shit, I went to go cross the border earlier this summer to go see my friends down in Washington State, in Washington there, where I was supposed to be giving a couple hour lecture, or whatever you want to call it, a seminar at a weekend event with a bunch of people from around the world at Isetti Ranch. And I went to cross the border after driving 26 hours across Canada on a truck with a private plate, with no government ID of any kind, just
Okay.
a couple of affidavits and my live birth record. And I went to cross the border into the United States of America. And you got to remember, there's a war on terror right now, right? They don't like people crossing the border with no passports and no government ID except for birth certificates and live birth records. But I contacted the embassy in advance to let them know I was going to be doing it, and if they had a problem with it, no one got back to me, so I did. I spent 6 hours at the border with the Department of Homeland Security.
Okay.
Even got the transcripts here. It was lovely. They were really, really, really nice to me.
Okay. And that's because they already received your transcripts?
They knew who I was, but I have it on good authority that they were actually given instructions to, under no circumstances, allow me across the border, because I was giving updates on Facebook as I was doing it.
Uh-huh.
And the last thing they want is 10,000 people in North America going to the border the next day with nothing more than birth certificates and live birth records and crossing the border and really starting to mess up their system. So I can kind of understand that. They still violated my rights, and I mean, I'll put that with another 100 claims I have against the government on various levels. But when I came back across the border, they said, well, you know, they're going to send me back to Canada. And I went back to Canada and crossed our border with just my live birth record and a truck with no license plates. Well, they had the Royal Canadian Mounted Police waiting for me about 5 kilometers up the border. And that led to another 2-hour little standoff where they ended up taking my truck, but they wouldn't arrest me and they wouldn't touch me. And I've got a full 2 hours of audio, and that's actually where those 56 criminal charges have come from now.
Okay.
Right? So they're in a lot of shit. And my truck basically is stolen at this point, and they know it is. They couldn't issue a notice of seizure because they had no jurisdiction. I'm outside of their authority.
That brings us into a couple of questions, and I'm going to try and hit you with a few of these now. Okay, Dean?
Yeah.
There's a one here from Dermot O'Siegfried, and he says, is it in Dean's opinion, is it necessary or obligatory to deregister a car to drive it without a license, insurance, etc.? Or is all that is required for us to say we are not driving as government employees, so we do not need the services of the local police to tell us laws that don't apply to us?
The latter, the second of that. It is definitely my opinion, my understanding, and my claim that I don't care even if there is a government plate on the truck and it is insured. If, at the time of the complaint, you are not acting as an officer or an agent of the Crown or the government, and you are exercising your natural right to travel, that far supersedes statutes. Far supersedes. Has nothing, because they have no jurisdiction at that point. They have the jurisdiction to pull you over because of the plate, but once you let them know that information, they lose all jurisdiction. And also, not only that, because it's your truck, you have to let them know that you are the equitable owner of the property, the truck, which means that you have ultimate say over where that property goes, when it goes, and how it goes, which means you have permission to drive that anywhere. And they can't produce a claim to the contrary.
So you can just tell them to be on their way. Okay.
Yeah. So you could say
just tell
something
them to be on their way, yes?
Yeah, be on your way. Are you claiming this property is stolen? No. Okay. Do you believe I have, or I am about to commit an indictable offense? No. Then have a good day. Bye-bye. And leave. Don't even wait for him to say anything else to you. Just leave. And if he starts to get real angry, say, excuse me, I'm feeling very threatened. Are you going to physically harm me? If I try to leave, are you going to shoot me? Because I'm in fear for my life right now, because you don't have a claim against me, but you seem to be really interested in blocking me and not allowing me to leave. What is it that you want?
Well, that's brilliant, and that answers that question pretty easily. So I hope
Actually,
Dermot is happy.
The sad part is it's not brilliant. It's actually logic and reason.
Yes.
That's the shocking part. As soon as you turn the television off, it takes about 2-3 weeks, but you start to think again.
Okay.
And then it takes
That's
a couple
great.
years after that, because your brain's going to get tired real quick, like the first time you've ever gone to the gym. But after a few months and after a year, you're going to find that your logic centers and your reasoning centers are going to start working again, and you're going to start being smarter than everybody around you.
Well, let's hope everybody catches up with all, and we're all as smart as each other. Do you know that? That'd be nice. Listen, someone asks why you actually recognise the court at all.
Well, there are courts. They're actually ours. They get their jurisdiction from us.
Right. Okay, so that's the great answer. So what does Dean think about granting subject matter jurisdiction at all? About not granting subject matter jurisdiction at all?
Well, you don't have to say. You're basically not granting subject matter jurisdiction when you rebut all of their presumptions. You automatically remove subject. There is no subject matter jurisdiction at that point. The subject matter jurisdiction at the time is their presumptions. That stands as fact.
Yeah.
And that's why the judge will say, well, I have all the jurisdiction I need, and I do have jurisdiction in this matter. Of course he does. That's absolutely correct. The problem is that the Crown had no jurisdiction to bring you there. Go after your adversary. The judge has all the authority in the world to hear the matter. The problem is he also has a duty and an obligation to dismiss it and to protect you when it turns out that the claims against you are false. And don't let them bullshit you into thinking that that's a matter for trial. Oh, well, that's something that we do at trial. No. That is where all the facts of the case have already been decided. That's when identity has basically been decided, has been confirmed. No. This is a show cause hearing. Show cause means these people have absolutely no standing to bring this claim against me. There's no injured party. I'm not one of their officers. These are false claims they've made against me. And are they claiming anything to the contrary? I don't care about your opinion. They can answer that question if the judge starts trying to answer for them. Say, you do your job, and you be impartial and unbiased, and you sit there. You make them answer that. But a lot of these are complicated arguments that most people aren't going to be able to do right off the start. Like, don't think you're going to listen to 2 hours of this and suddenly walk into court and be able to hold your own against these people when they've been doing this their entire lives. And the way I always explain that is I'm a contractor. I build houses. I frame. I do concrete. If somebody who's only done concrete or framing for an hour their entire life walks onto my site and tries to tell me that they know everything there is to know about framing and concrete, I'll know in the first 2 minutes of them getting to work whether or not they did know what they're doing.
Yeah.
This is what these people do for a living. So you got to start small, and you got to get the concepts in your head first. You got to start to understand things before you start going in and making arguments. And you want to learn before you do that. But fortunately, there's enough information out there now that he's back apparently. There's enough information out there now that with some quick research online and watching videos for a few weeks, you can be brought up to speed incredibly fast now, because it turns out that the ideas and the concepts are actually very, very simple. It's just enforcing them and not being drawn into their word games. Everybody gets intimidated, and they think that, oh man, this is so complicated. Look at all these big words these guys are using. Well, I'll tell you the story of how my brother shut that all down with the most incredibly basic and limited understanding and almost no vocabulary that you could possibly imagine. He's not the best person when it came to vocabulary at the time. His understanding of this was very basic, and he absolutely destroyed a court with a one sentence at a time, and then left within a matter of 5 minutes. So we can get back into that. We'll get talking to Sean. And this is why the rule of KISS applies. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid. If you try to show them how smart you are, the only thing you're going to show them is how ignorant you are. The more you speak, the more you testify against yourself, and the more you're going to make yourself sound like an idiot, unless you're really, really good. So you keep simple, you keep to the basic facts that you understand them, and don't let anybody bullshit you. And when a judge finishes ranting for 4 or 5 minutes, you can say, are you done? Okay, I don't understand what you just said, and I really don't care, because nobody's answered my question yet.
Mm-hmm.
And
so, Dean, listen.
Sorry, go ahead.
Dean, there's another question here. There's a method the TNS people have put out there, the civil or criminal situation, like to ask you about a judge asking a judge, is this a civil or a criminal matter? Why I'm here? Do you ask that type of question?
Well, no, I wouldn't ask that type of question, because you actually just proved you have no clue what's going on there. If you've been charged with a statutory offense, it's criminal. There is no such thing as a civil criminal offense.
No.
There is no such thing. If you've been charged with a code violation or a statute or any kind of a law the government passed, it's criminal. It's a statutory matter. and I put that all into criminal. It doesn't matter if it's even just a fine. It's still criminal. It's still a statutory. You're in a statutory court. You're probably going to be in summary conviction, and it's going to be the lowest jurisdiction court in existence. In fact, that court is only for officers and agents of the government. People have no business even being there. And that's one of the presumptions that they use, is just the fact that you're there proves you're an officer or an agent of the Crown. Because otherwise you wouldn't be there, because that's all those courts are for. That is a McDonald's boardroom, and you are an employee. Because would a non-McDonald's employee ever show up at a McDonald's hearing?
Okay.
No. That's the presumption being operated on. So that's why it's the first one you have to rebut and let them know the reason you're there.
Okay. There's another one from Sovereignty here. Can Dean explain why, if we people of natural law get insurance for driving a car, it is a type of fraud we are taking part in, and we should not take out insurance for driving cars, as we don't want to be part of this fraud we are being forced into?
Yeah. Well, number one, insurance policies actually, right in the fine print, especially here where I am, it used to spell it right out for you. And I think they changed all that now because it was too obvious. The policies actually used to say that you are admitting, basically, you are the one that's testifying that that property, that car, that truck is being used for a public service.
Uh-huh.
You are the one declaring it to be a public service vehicle because you're getting insurance for it. Because a man wouldn't need insurance, right? You can insure your own car because you're already underwritten on the private side by the if you want to call it the Commonwealth, by the resources of the country. We don't need insurance, especially if you're a full liability individual. You're already insured, and that's what your birth certificate is evidence of, which is something we can get into another time as well. But the insurance policy declares certain things in it that grants the state jurisdiction. That's why they can pull you over as soon as they see one of those license plates. And then not only that, if somebody else is insuring your car and you're not, then if, for instance, if I was insuring your car, Sean,
Yes.
and I had to pay out damages if you injured somebody, would I not want to place restrictions on your use of that property?
Absolutely, yeah.
Of course, because you might be a drunken moron who's going to go around harming a bunch of people. So I'm going to want to put all sorts of things in there to make sure that I'm not liable if you do that, and you're not allowed to do that. Otherwise, you're criminally liable if you do that stuff, and I'm not. So that's what happens when we use insurance companies too. Is now we've asked somebody else to underwrite us, which means they're at risk. And if they're at risk, they've assumed liability, and whoever has assumed liability is in the driver's seat. They're in control. They're the ones telling everybody else what to do. So when you assume liability for yourself, for your own actions, that's what being a sovereign is. That's what free people are. People that assume liability for their own actions. Because then no one tells you what to do.
So we do not need insurance, Dean?
Hell no. Are you kidding? The insurance companies are the problems. They're the ones ruining the world. And people like to use the argument, well, yeah, but if there was no insurance, how would anybody ever get paid out if there was an injury? Well, that's what's led to us being morons on the road. We believe that we're covered when we do anything, right?
Yeah.
And let me ask you a question. When was the last time that your insurance company went to jail for you if you harmed somebody when you were driving?
No, exactly. They don't take that liability now, do they?
Well, they don't cover you then.
Well, I actually had a situation where I was in a car crash, and the person who was in that car wasn't insured and was taken to court by them, their situation on their side took them to court. I ended up not having a leg to stand on because my insurance company wouldn't pay anything out because they were really nice. Obviously, there was small print I hadn't read. And then I ended up taking the government to court, and I did actually, after a long, long battle, get a payout. So that was a payout that proves we are already insured.
That's exactly it. We're already insured. The government will pay it out. If you had the birth certificate, a copy, all you have to do if somebody hits you is ask for their birth certificate, because that's where your remedy is. Then you can go to the court with the birth date and the name of whoever hit you in civil court and sue them, and you'll win.
Yes.
And then the government has to pay that out because the government is the trustees of all our estates, and that's what the legal person is. So the government will pay that out. and then they have a duty and an obligation that if the other person was careless or negligent or was committing or was criminally responsible for what they did because it wasn't just an act of God, the government can now go back to that person and charge them criminally, throw them in jail to pay their debt back to society. Because what's happening right now is the government is collecting on every single one of these claims, but they're not paying out.
Yes.
They're keeping all the money. So once we learn who we are, you'll find that, okay, well, I can pay any debt anyways because I'm backed by the estate. I'm backed by the Commonwealth, especially in our countries. That's a great thing. But if I've acted in a manner that's criminal, if I've harmed somebody, well, if I've harmed somebody intentionally, can I not be held liable for my actions?
Absolutely, you should be, shouldn't you?
Of course you can't. No knowledge of law is going to get you out of that.
No.
If you've harmed somebody and there's an actual injured party, the courts have jurisdiction no matter what. Because we've given them that jurisdiction. They get their authority from us, the people.
Okay. Well, look, there's another question come in. And Dean, I have to tell you, you're a mine of information, and it's fantastic what you're coming out with so far. I'm absolutely just blown away by it all. There's a question here. Ask Dean how he would respond when in court and the judge tells him the complaining party is the city of whatever. Now, I'm presuming it's like if the whole city takes you to court for something.
They can't be an injured party. How did I possibly injure the city of so and so? It's a legal fiction. It's a political entity. How did I injure them? Where's the contract? Did I break a contract with them? Did I physically injure a political? Did I physically injure a corporation? How is that even possible?
Well, that's great. You've answered that, and they just wanted to know how you would respond to it, and you've responded exactly.
Yeah. That's the thing. If you got to remember, if it's civil, if there's a civil claim being made against you, that's very different from criminal. That just means that there's a contract being enforced. Somebody's claiming that you owe them money. And then, like I say, you look at the charges, and it'll be X and X Corporation or City of so-and-so, or even the Crown versus, and then your name in all capital letters, the name of your trust. And that's how they're getting remedy. The same way I just said, as long as you get the person's birth certificate, so you can act, so you can point the government towards the trust. They're holding all of our estates in trust. So
they owe us. They should pay them out, shouldn't they, to people? I mean, that's your corporate identity.
That's why this entire system was designed. It was designed like that's why everything is held in trust. So you can always go and get remedy on a claim. And then the job of the trustee, the government, is to provide the remedy and then go collect from the person that owes you. And they will get it from that person's estate because they hold all the estates in trust. They're the trustee. That's their job. This is why I say this system is great. We don't want to walk away from it. We just better start learning what it is, how it works, and how to get them to actually start doing their jobs the way it was intended.
So in a way, as trustees, should they not be distributing the wealth so that everybody is on an equal footing?
They're trustees. They do what they're told. The problem is they don't view us as any in fact, we've appointed ourselves as trustees. The same way that we declared that when we got an insurance policy that we're going to be using that vehicle for a public service of some type. Mm-hmm. When we get a social insurance number or a social security number or whatever number you guys get over there that they tell you need so you can get a job,
yes,
you've declared yourself to be an employee of the government. So that's what the records show. That's all they have to go on. They don't know anything different because you're the one that declared it yourself. So don't get mad at them.
Okay, well, we've had generations who've been lied to and their parents were lied to, and this goes back a long, long way. It's just really time for us to wise up to it, yeah?
Yes, and I think things have gotten so bad that it's actually it's like, what's that joke that person is actually so gay they went past being gay and went right back around to being straight.
Okay,
that's where we've gotten right now. Society has gotten so ignorant. It's not even possible to get any more ignorant. It's impossible. No. It's actually an impossibility at this point. So we can actually only go right back to learning our rights, or this whole thing is we're just gonna descend into civil war, and it's just we're all gonna kill each other because it's completely lawless out there right now. So we've had to go right back to relearning everything because we realize now things are so bad we actually can see it, how ignorant and uneducated we are.
Yeah, absolutely. I was talking to a barrister not so long ago, and he just took me to one side and said, Sean, there is no justice in a court.
Oh, there is.
Okay,
There
tell me.
certainly is. Again, what's more important than the person asking the question? Or no, what's more important than the question being asked is who's asking it.
Right.
For instance, and I always, this isn't how you'd want to go into court and talk, but it helps people to understand the concept here. If you and I were walking down the street in opposing directions, which means we met on the sidewalk somewhere,
Okay.
and we both stopped, and I looked at you and I said, hey, what's your name? Can I see some ID? The first question out of your mouth should be what?
Who are you?
Who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
So that tells you right there that the more important question here is, who are you?
Yeah.
Let's get to what I asked later, but first I want to tell you who I am.
Yeah.
Right? So the first thing that somebody should be declaring themselves is, well, I'm a peace officer. I believe that that you match the description of a suspect we're looking for. Could I see some ID, please? That actually, believe it or not, is a lawful excuse and a real reason to ask you for ID, and they have every right to. And if you don't, you better believe they can arrest you.
Okay.
That's just cause. They now have just cause. They have a crime that's been committed. They're looking for somebody that matches your description, and they've asked you for ID. That is actually a legitimate reason to ask you for ID. But what if they don't say any of that? What if they just say, you, I want to see some ID? Well, who the fuck are you? Well,
Yeah,
I'm a
exactly.
cop.
Yeah.
Well, what do you want? Why do you want my ID? I just want it. No. Right? No, that's not the way shit works.
Okay, well that's great. So we should just be responding the way only if there is just cause and that there has been a
right. So now that comes back to court, right? The reason we're not getting justice is because they're operating on the presumption that we are somebody that doesn't have a right to justice. If you enlist in the military tomorrow and you're a private, the most lowliest guy on the military ranking, I don't even know what that is.
Okay, well let's say private.
And an officer walks up to you and he punches you in the face as hard as he can for no reason. Do you have a claim against that guy?
Well, yeah, you should.
Of course you don't.
Why
You're
not?
in the military. That's a superior officer. You could probably make a complaint up the chain of command and have him brought to a tribunal, and they may decide that, well, no, we don't care. You're a private. He's an officer. He's more important to us. We think that he was justified in what he did because you're an asshole.
But if he's acting outside his, if you like, office, and he just goes and punches you, isn't he bringing it down a level and he isn't that officer anymore?
No. Why would he?
Okay.
Who says he's operating outside his office? He actually may have a right to punch you in the face if you're the lowliest ranking guy in the military. That's just an example.
Okay.
Okay. What do you think is going on in these criminal courts when you have a cop that beats somebody half to death?
Yeah.
And you're trying to bring a claim against this guy, and they're ignoring you and saying you don't have any rights here. Does that not kind of sound like a military tribunal?
It certainly does, yeah.
Well, that's exactly what it is. Because those criminal courts over here, we'd have to find the equivalent over there. We call them statutory courts, provincial court, where all minor statutory matters are heard. Those are internal tribunals of the Crown. We've got to remember, all a court is any administrative proceeding. That's all a court is.
Okay.
It's an administrative proceeding. That's all it is. So if you're bringing somebody into administrative proceeding, it could be McDonald's, and I could be an employee there, and someone caught me picking my nose while I was making hamburgers, and now they're going to bring me to a little hearing, an administrative hearing, to decide whether or not I should be fired or fined or something. Mm-hmm. That's all that's going on.
So what rights do we have in court?
Well, there's different courts, and now it depends on who you are. If an officer in the military walks up to one of the sovereign people of the land and punches them in the face, do they have immunity in their military law?
Well, I don't know. You tell me, Dean, seriously.
Of course they don't. In fact, they're actually here to protect us.
Allegedly.
Well, that's completely true, but again, you went and got, what is it over there? Ours is a social insurance number. Down the States is a social security number. What 9-digit number do you guys get?
Well, it's a PRSI number here, yeah.
Okay, so you guys go and get a PRSI number, which for all intents and purposes would be the equivalent of enlisting in the military. Okay? It identifies you as an employee, officer, or agent of the Crown. That's what it does. That's why they can tax you. That's why statutes apply to you. And what document do you use to get that number? Do you not use a birth certificate to get it?
We have medical cards and birth certificates, so there's lots of registry here.
Yeah, but it all boils down to it all comes back to your estate.
Yes.
And you are just a man, but unfortunately, when you now the government has the ability to operate on the presumption that you're one of their employees or one of their officers. Okay? And the reason you don't have any human rights is the same reason you have no human rights when you're in the military. You're an officer of the military.
Right.
And if we transfer that into corporate law, I got case law right here from the Supreme Court of Canada that very rightly so says that human rights are not extended to officers of corporations, because to extend human rights to an officer of a corporation would be to extend human rights to the corporation itself.
Mm-hmm.
That's why that's the title you hold, okay? When you're playing hockey and you break one of the rules of the game and the ref blows the whistle and tries to throw you in the penalty box, do you say, fuck you, I have human rights, I didn't harm anybody? No, you broke the rule of the game. Right now, you're a hockey player, you're a center, or you're a left wing in a hockey game. That's the title you're representing. That's the title you're acting in. You only have the rights afforded to the title you're acting in. We're all just actors, and the world is but a stage. You better
Indeed.
find out what role you're acting at the time, because that's all the rights you have. And I can tell you right now, the role that they've asked you to come to court in is a fucking terrible one.
Yes.
You can't take a shit without a permit.
Mm-hmm.
In the role, in the title that they've asked you to come to court in, you are nothing. You're a maggot.
Okay, well, we need to address that straight away. And what you're saying is that you basically contact the court before you enter it and tell them where you're standing. Tell them what your standing is. No, you don't
contact court until after you've contacted the people that accused you, like the cop and the crown, prosecutor, and say, hey, I'm not one of your monkeys. Who do you think I am? I love that question. That's a negative averment. Instead of saying, who the fuck are you? Who the fuck do you think I am? Let's start with that. Who do you think I am? And then I'll tell you who I am. But I want to know who you think I am first. Who do you think I am that you have authority over me?
Yeah, no, it's the question to ask, isn't it? That is the one.
Yeah, that's a great one. Not only that, but especially when you go to court, you say, well, I'm here, but I'm not here in the capacity that these people have summoned me here in, because there's been a mistake.
Okay.
And I'm here to correct that mistake. This is all just accounting, isn't it? If you get to the very bottom of a mathematical equation and you are left with 34 equals 35, do you not have to go back and find the mistake? Even if it's all the way back at the first number of the equation, 17 lines up, where it says 1 plus something. You got to go all the way back to the beginning to correct mistakes if need be, to make sure that you get the right answer at the very bottom. That's what courts are.
Yeah, okay.
So you're here to correct the record. You're here to correct a mistake that's been made. And because if there's a mistake, how can you continue? Can you continue with what's going on if there's been a mistake made?
No, we want to sort that out, don't we?
Yeah, you now have a stopple at law. And sorry,
say that again. You have a what?
We have a stopple at law. ESTOPPEL. A stopple at law. You have stopped the court. The court has to stop. Stop. Everybody freeze. There's been a mistake. And until we go back and correct that mistake, we cannot proceed. Now, that's only one way of doing it. The other mistake is, well, I also don't work for free, by the way. So before we continue, it's with the understanding that these people are compensating me for my time, my accuser.
Yes.
They are paying me to show up here because I don't work for free, or that is a violation of my human rights. You may be able to force me to do something, but you can't force me to do it for free, and only I tell you, and only I can pick my rate. Unless you can produce a contract.
So, Dean, do you send them an invoice?
Well, first you're going to send them a notice of how much you charge for your time.
Okay.
Hey, I'm a free agent. In hockey, can you tell them how much you're charging every game if you're under contract?
Okay.
No. So when if you're a hockey player, and you see, this is the problem. You guys have to understand this. If we just had our logic and reasoning skills working, this would all make sense to us. We could come up with this shit on our own. We don't need to learn anything. If you are a hockey player and you show up and you say to the coach, yeah, I'm here, but I'm not putting on my equipment until you double my salary, he's going to say, fuck you, Will. You're under contract. You're under contract for 5 years. You pay what you're getting. You pay the agreed upon price. But what happens when that hockey player's contract is up? Is he not a free agent? And all of a
Yes, he
sudden,
is.
people have to pay him whatever he wants or he stops playing?
Well, he can
Well, then
chance his arm, can't he?
Well, then what the fuck are we doing? You're a free agent until you get a contract in place, which means you pay me what I tell you you're paying me, or I don't work, I don't perform, I don't act. I don't act until I'm paid my rate.
So we should all be charging that, putting a rate on it before we even go into the court and telling them how much of our time and putting a value on it.
Absolutely. And even then, I'm not even saying I consent to play the role you want me to play, because here's some more terms and conditions of me playing your game. I want an immunity waiver, immunity from prosecution under any and all statutes. If you want me to act in some capacity and show up and play some role, that's fine. But I'm assuming no liability personally, which means I need a liability waiver from you. So now, even if they did, you're just there to play. Remember, it's just a game in the courtroom.
It is.
And they're sticking you with the bill at the end, right? Well, no. I'm not coming here unless I have a guarantee, written in writing, that I'm not going to be stuck with any bills at the end of this. Number two, this is all contract negotiation, is it not?
It is, yeah.
This is all commerce, is it not? We have two systems of law. We have natural law, which is ecclesiastical, God, whatever you want to call it, and then everything after that is man, which is commerce. This is Roman civil law, right? This is commerce. The Romans were commercial. Instead of conquering empires and paying armies and killing and murdering and having to run this giant empire that requires all this military force, they got real smart and they turned it into a religion called Catholicism. No matter how much people don't want to hear this, this is the case, right? This is the Council of Isaiah. They codified commerce and turned it into a religion, because if they could get people to believe in it, people would fight to protect it instead of fighting to break free from it.
Well, I've been saying for years that Catholicism is just another sort of form of organized crime. So, yeah.
Well, it's not even that. It's commerce. You're free to contract with anybody you want. That's one of your fundamental rights, right? I can contract or not contract with whoever I want. If I don't want to play hockey, I won't play hockey. If I signed a contract for 5 years at $10 million, I guess I'm playing, or I can be sued for breach of contract.
Right.
We have to start thinking of everything in life in these terms.
We do, and we need to learn all these terms. And as you say, it's actually quite simple when you break it all down, and then just critically think about what's going on and answer back the way you're saying. I mean, it's brilliant what I'm hearing. I've been asked another question. Sorry, Dean, go ahead.
Yep. Oh, and one more term that people may want to think of, and I know that, and this was a gem, because back in the day before I really got this figured out, this one really saved my ass without even knowing why. Okay. When I stopped filing income taxes way back in the day, and they were really coming at me, and they wanted me to file 4 years worth of income tax returns, and I was telling them, I was sending back all their letters, writing "go fuck yourself" on it and stuff, and we finally had a meeting where a guy came out, and I just finally said to him, look, I said, I'd be more than happy to do whatever you want me to do. I'll file any return you want me to return. I'll do anything. Here's my terms and conditions. I charge $50,000 an hour for my accounting services because I'm not a qualified accountant. I estimate it's going to take me 40 hours for each year's return, which means that is $2 million per year. And you want me to file 3 years worth of returns? Well, that's $6 million. Unfortunately, I'm unwilling to extend you credit because you never pay your bills. So just as soon as I've received full payment up front, a certified check in the amount of $6 million that clears my bank account, I'll get right on it.
Brilliant.
That was the last time I ever heard from them. That was 13 years ago.
That's just fantastic, Dean. That
in
really
my
is.
life, heard from them, because I followed up by putting that all in writing and sending to them registered mail, and I told them that all they had to do to agree to my terms and conditions was to contact me in any way, shape, or form again, ever. They've never contacted me ever again.
I'd chase up the $6 million if it was me.
Yeah. How much law did I need to know to do that?
Yeah, no. It's brilliant, and you've done this, yes?
Absolutely. That's why I haven't filed income taxes in 17 years now. 16 years, I think, actually.
Brilliant. Okay, well, I think we should all get on that one, definitely. I've got another question that's come in, and it's short and sweet, and I'm sure you know. I actually don't know what it means, What's the big secret?
I don't know. What
Yeah.
is the secret? I guess the big secret is that they're getting you to do a bunch of government work for free. Every time they ask you to do something and they tell you to fill out an income tax return, they're ordering one of their employees to do something. And you're not asking for any money, and you're not putting any terms or conditions on your employment.
Aha.
So start doing that.
Absolutely. So basically, we're doing their civil service. We're doing it.
Yeah, you are the civil servant. You even got a number to identify yourself within their corporation. And they've been getting you to work for free for a lot of years. So that's unjust. That's unjust enrichment, by the way, if people want a lawsuit against the government.
What's that called? Unjust enrichment.
They've unjustly enriched themselves.
Yes.
By deceiving you and threatening you. Do they not threaten to throw you in jail if you don't fill out an income tax return for free?
Well, they certainly do, yeah.
Okay, so if I came to your house and I said, you, come here, you're going to stucco my house for free or I'm going to kick your fucking teeth out of your face.
Don't think I'll work for you, Dean.
You probably wouldn't do it, and you'd probably be able to defend yourself. I don't know if I'd want to pick a fight with another Irishman. We're kind of evil pricks. But that's what they're doing. And they're trying to say, oh, no, we're not doing that. Oh, we would never do that. Excuse me. What would you do if I failed to file an income tax return? Would you not try to criminally prosecute me and throw me in jail? Well, yes. And are you not trying to force me to do it for free? Well, there's no provision in our act to pay you. Well, there's no provision in my rights to work for free. We've actually had that reply from them, by the way. They've sent people back letters, and they've actually answered in court saying verbally, there's no provision in the Income Tax Act to pay you. Well, there's no provision in my act to work for free. So I guess this isn't going to get very far now, is it?
So 17 years ago that you discovered this and haven't paid income tax since?
I haven't filed income taxes since.
Okay.
Not only that, I have a friend who has a letter from the Queen's printer acknowledging that they don't even have anything called an Income Tax Act on file. It doesn't exist.
Brilliant. Well, I've always thought it was illegal. How do we educate and enlighten employers who have loads of employees under them?
It's not illegal. Let's get that argument fixed right away. Okay, if you work for McDonald's and McDonald's passes a new internal policy that says that they're going to take 5% of your check and put it towards a pension, do you have any say in that?
Well, you should, but you don't.
You don't. That means you quit and you find a job elsewhere if you don't agree to their terms.
Yes.
Okay? That's what the Income Tax Act is. It's an internal policy of the government. It's not a law. And it says that you have to file a return if you're an employee of the government. And you even have don't they need your PRSI number?
Yes.
Okay.
So Vin's just come in with, I recall signing no such contract.
There you go. Or I'm here to negotiate my contract.
Exactly.
And in my contract, not only do I want this amount of money, but I want it up front, and I want a liability waiver, and I want back pay for all the years you people have fucked me over.
Definitely. I want to be filing an invoice for that, you know.
There you go. That's 4 I can come up with off the top of my head. What else do you guys want when you're negotiating a contract? I think this is why contractors get it. House builders and framers and carpenters. It seems to be the tradespeople that always figure this system out fastest. It's because we understand that before I work anywhere, I have a contract in place and I get paid a deposit up front, or I don't do a thing.
Yes.
And that's how I treated Canada Revenue Agency 13 years ago. And that's why I haven't heard from them in 13 years. I treated it like a contract, like I'm a free agent, and I'm contracting with anybody. Now, if somebody was to contact me now, I'd say, oh, man, thank God. I need some work. What do you want me to do? Here's my terms and conditions. This is what I charge per hour. Cop pulls you over. Oh, thank God. Oh, the state wants me to. Oh, thank God. I love working for the state. Man, you guys pay really good money. I charge $500 an hour. What would you like me to do? Well,
I love it.
And he says, I don't know what you're talking about. You say, well, you are an agent of the Crown, are you not? You're an agent of the state? You're trying to solicit business from me, are you not? I charge $500 an hour or any portion thereof, and I assume no liability for breaking any of your acts or statutes. What would you like me to do? By the way, who do I send the bill to? Do I send it to your superior officer?
No, that's perfect. Listen, Dean, Ruth Kelly is a good friend of mine, and she basically, I suppose, talked you into coming on out of the bag. We haven't met, we haven't discussed anything prior to this, so I'm just in awe of all what you're coming out with. But I hear you're coming over to Ireland fairly soon. Is that in January?
I would love to. I've been saying that for a year and a bit, and I'm pretty busy around here with contracting, but we're getting into the minus 40 temperatures here. I am going to do my best to come over in January. My grandfather, my father were both born in Belfast, so even without a passport, because I don't have one yet, I'm fairly certain that I can come back there on a right of return basis, which means I do intend to come over in the middle of January for a visit to come see my countrymen and come see the homeland. So yes, absolutely.
Oh, we'll certainly be giving you a fantastic welcome when and if you do. I've actually been talking to Ruth fairly recently. Now, she's a member of TNS as well, and maybe a few of them out there listening know her. She's organising an event. Can I broadcast that and tell Dean, have you agreed to come to Ireland for that event?
That's pretty much one of the premises. Yeah, I want to come for that, and then I want to go check out Ireland. I want to go get drunk in a country pub and talk to some Irishmen. So,
okay. Well, her event is on January the 12th, so I'm hoping that's in your diary, Dean, and I'm hoping that people out there listening will tell their friends, especially after this interview, because you've been just fantastic, and more people in Ireland need to hear you. But we have down here is Dean Clifford is going to be talking, but also we'll have Ben Gilroy, who is the leader of the new political party that was formed today. We were also trying to get Horder Torfason, the guy who started the Icelandic Revolution, and also a great guy who talks about psychopathy and understands psychopaths. We'll have Thomas Sheridan. So just that lineup, and I think there's more being added to it, is going to be in Dundalk in the Fairways Hotel on the 12th of January. And I know that Ruth is maybe even the 13th if we can get 2 days out of it. But what we really want is to keep the price of the tickets as low as possible so everyone can get to it. So we'll be looking at every way we can possibly do that, and I'll be talking to Ruth in the future to that. Dean, let's have a bit of a break now, and we'll put a song on, okay? And I think we'll have a wee break and come back to you after this tune. So welcome back to Out of the Bag, live on TNS Radio. It is the 11th of the 14th, 2012, just coming up to 11:30 p.m. here in Ireland. And I am so lucky to have on my show tonight the wonderful Dean Clifford. Dean has been just knocking me dead with the last couple of hours. And Dean, I'm going to hand over to you to say whatever you wish for the last half hour in whatever way you want, because Dean, it's all yours.
Okay. Well, this would be my advice for people that want to learn and start being more free in their lives. And again, the more educated you are, and the more able you are to handle your own affairs, the more free you're going to be. And there's a famous quote out there from a lot of famous people, actually. A lot of the founding fathers of the United States, a lot of other well-versed people in law from back in the day, will tell you that if you don't govern yourself, you will be governed, which means govern your own affairs, or we will govern you.
Yeah.
Right? And that obviously should tell people that, well, maybe the more competent I become and the more educated I become and the more able I am to handle my affairs, the less I will have to be governed by somebody else. And that's why I say we can't get lower in society right now than where we are, because people look to the government for everything. Oh, There's no jobs. Government, do something. Oh, this sucks. Government, do something. Stop it.
They're just so spoon-fed, Dean.
Go and do it. Go create for Christ's sakes, this is our planet. Quit asking these people to solve all your problems. That's why you're being governed. You keep asking them to do everything for you. Okay? So govern yourself or you will be governed. You have to govern your own affairs. And that starts with learning about the system that's going on right now, this commercial system, and learning what governments are, what statutes are, and realizing that there's two completely separate systems going on here. There's the laws of the land, which are your natural rights. And then there's commerce. And commerce is the Holy See above the land. That's why Vatican City is known as the Holy See. That's the center of where all this shit comes from. commerce. It's the holy see of commerce that is above the land, and the two don't interact. That's why people are getting into trouble with courts, with jurisdiction. They're walking into court trying to bring natural law, God-given rights into the holy see of commerce that can't recognize that. Okay?
Right.
That doesn't work. They are completely separate, firewalled jurisdictions. Right? You have no natural rights in a statutory court. Now you do where you go to courts when there's civil lawsuits, and you have to act through your person. That's the other thing you got to remember. In the system that's built right now, everything you do has to be done through your person. It's your chess piece on the board. Just because you have a person, you are not bound by statutes and government rule. That's your person. Okay, that's your name. And what people have to realize and this is what I'm trying to fight one of the newest concepts out there that people are doing is that, I waive the right to be recognized as a legal person. Okay, well, you're waiving your rights to remedy in any court then, because all these courts are commerce. They're all commercial in nature. When somebody asks you, is that your name? People have to understand what they're really meaning. Like if I was to say, is that your bike? Is that your house? Is that your car? Yes, that's my car. Yes, that's my house. Yes, that's my name. I own it. It's mine. It was given to me. It doesn't mean that you are the name. They leave it up to us to make stupid, ignorant presumptions like that. They leave it open to us to testify against ourselves and hope that we think that we actually are the name. And so we make stupid arguments like, well, I'm a man, I'm not a name. No shit. Really. Thank you. And for a minute I thought we were all Martians here. Okay? They know you're a man, but you're there playing a role. Now in civil court, so people got the idea in the last little while that they were just going to stop even showing up at civil court where they're being sued to protect the name. It's your name to protect. It's a piece of property. Would you protect your house if somebody came to take it? Of course you would. The problem is people we haven't caught on to the fact, well, we have now, and it's gaining a lot of traction, that the name is no different from a car. It's a piece of property. It's a piece of real estate. It's property. We own the exclusive right of use to that property. We own all equity in that property. It's ours to protect. And we've given all power of attorney to our name away to the government. And we got to take that back. We have to educate ourselves. We have to start getting smarter and start learning what property rights are and protecting our property rights. Because got to remember, that's one of our three fundamental rights: life, liberty, and property.
Yes. Okay.
We have property rights. It's a fundamental right, and we need. And it's all three of them, by the way. It doesn't say life, liberty, or property. Okay. It's an all or nothing. The government can't say, well, two of those sounds pretty good, but that third one, no, we're not going to recognize that. No, they know you have property rights. The problem is they got you to invest all of your rights into your person, and then you granted power of attorney to your person to the government. So
we have a situation. We have a situation here in Ireland, Dean, that a lot of people are being evicted from their property. Okay. Yep. Via the banks, via the law, via the courts, etc.
And this is so easy to overcome.
Yes. What do we do to stop that?
Council taxes and banks. Number one, the bank one I'm not going to get into. People for the last 2 years have been asking me, well, I'm behind on my mortgage payments. What do? I tell them to make the payments. Well, I can't afford it because I don't make enough money. I said, then you shouldn't have got the mortgage.
Right.
Okay. There is a
renegotiation there.
The mortgages aren't fraud. What people have to realize, the banks are actually the banks only have power of attorney in the matter to collect on the debt. There's two roles here. There's a creditor and a debtor in a mortgage, and the bank is contacting the debtor when they're showing up for payment. And everybody's saying, "Oh, this mortgage is fraud. I funded the mortgage. It was my own credit. You didn't loan me nothing." Okay, there's a problem with that. When the bank, and this is capacity and roles, you got to imagine every different role and capacity that you can act in has a different hat. So literally start imagining you taking off a hat and putting on a different one. Every time you put on a different hat, you're playing a different role and a different capacity that has different duties and obligations and or rules. Okay? Different things
Okay.
apply to you when you wear these different hats. Like when you're wearing a train conductor's hat, you're a train conductor. But when you take it off and you put on a peace officer hat, now you're a peace officer. Okay? Different hats, different authorities, different titles. When the
Okay.
bank is looking for the debtor, is it realistic for you to use the argument that you funded the loan?
No, but can they take it that far that they're going to evict you from your property?
Of course not. Never. But we don't know the proper arguments on that also.
That's what's going on here.
Mortgages aren't fraud, but we don't understand our roles when it comes to the mortgage, and we're not finishing the process. That's all I'm going to say about that, because nobody here is ready to start making that argument until you understand what's going on. Secondly, council tax and mortgages. Number one, with council tax, okay, this is a very simple one. Remember I just told you that we gave basically power of attorney to the government over our person? We gave them administrative authority. They are governing our person because we're not. We're not governing our own affairs. So they are governing our affairs through our person. So they are administrating statutes against the person because we gave them power of attorney. We did that by operation of law. It wasn't expressed, but we can revoke that very easily because we own the person. We can take it back anytime. We can take control over it anytime we want to. How many times have you heard historical figures say that we are governed by our consent only?
Yeah.
That's what they mean. We've allowed them to govern our affairs. We registered to vote in a democracy, which is a corporation. We left let's not get into that. That's getting a little complicated.
Well, it
But
is
either
getting
way,
complicated, but Dean, there is a question here from Shrewd Operator on the main chat room saying, today we had the launch of a Direct Democracy Ireland party.
yes.
Is there any similar attempts to introduce,
You broke up there at the very end.
and he put it in inverted commas, democracy into Canada? Oh, sorry. Okay. I'll re-ask the question. Today we had the launch of Direct Democracy Ireland.
Yep.
Is there any similar attempt to introduce democracy into Canada?
Well,
Did you get that?
we do. Well, yeah, no. I would never take part in a new political party to try to effect change through the government of Canada, because once you understand what's going on here, there's nothing wrong with doing that. All that means is you guys are trying to take. It's like a power play to take over management of a corporation, right?
Okay.
But so that's fine. If you want to take over management of a corporation, that's absolutely fine. And effect change of the policies and the programs of the corporation, that's fine. But does the management, who's running the corporation, does that really matter to the shareholders?
Not really, as long as they're being dealt with properly.
That's right, because we got to remember governments were put in place to protect our already existing rights.
Yes, they're meant to be working for us.
They work for us when we're wearing one hat, and that's the hat of the people, the creditors of the country, right? But if I go to work as an assembly line worker at the corporation, when I'm wearing the hat of an employee on the assembly line, do I have human rights as one of the creditors, one of the people of the land?
Well, no.
No, of course I don't, because I'm at work now, and I'm wearing the hat of an employee that must obey policies. The policies set by upper management, probably the directors of the corporation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And who do the directors run the company for the benefit of?
Well, themselves, usually.
Well, it's themselves usually, but ultimately, who do they have to answer to?
Us.
Who?
The people working for them as well.
Well, in a corporate setting, it's the shareholders, right?
Yeah, the shareholders.
The shareholders. Well, this is just mimicking corporate law. It's all it is.
Okay.
So if you want to take over the corporation, that's fine. But remember that the shareholder always has a claim against the directors if they've been running the corporation poorly, if they've been handling their investment poorly.
Then they can be replaced.
They can be replaced anyways. Now, your person, the person, it's a sole corporation. You own 100% of the equity in it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a sole corporation is, when you own 100% of the shares in something. So now you don't split anything with anybody, which means that when you're the sole shareholder, or in trust law they call it the grantor, your word is law. Whatever you say is law within that entity.
Okay.
Okay? That's the power position we got to start understanding of who we are, which means we can appoint anybody to administrate the person, to be a director for the person. No different than a corporation. See the parallels here?
I do indeed, yeah.
Again, so do I really care who's running the government?
No.
No, because my ultimate position is when it comes to Canada, I own 133 millionth of this land.
Yes.
And I have a claim against the government if I think that they're not doing it in my interest. But when it comes to my person, what we've done, the problem is we've allowed our persons to be administrated by these people. So instead of us governing our own affairs or appointing ourselves or somebody we trust to administrate our affairs, to administrate our trust, we've allowed the government to do it. And they're administrating it for their benefit.
Okay. Listen. Oh, sorry. Go on.
Yeah, I was going to say, because they don't know who we are.
Right.
On the record, the public record shows that we're an employee of the government and nothing more, because we've never staked our claim. We've never corrected the record and told them who we really are. Do they have to recognize us until we've done that? No.
Okay. Listen, I've got a question in from Scottish Sovereign. It says Dean talks of people needing to know their rights. In Dean's opinion, is there a definitive amount, perhaps written in a constitution or similar?
Okay, here's the problem with constitutions. Good thing you brought that up, because I just wrote down a question here off my Facebook page, or a statement that was put in here. Constitution of Ireland, fundamental rights, personal rights, Article 45, the dwelling of every citizen is inviolable and shall not be forcibly entered save in accordance with law. Okay, your rights do not come from constitutions. Constitutions are drafted by people to create something. A corporate charter is a constitution. That is the will of the corporation by the people that created the corporation. What does the corporation exist to do, and what are its limitations? A constitution is a limitation on government power. It is not your rights. That's not where you get your rights from. Your rights are naturally occurring. Your right to property. And when I mean property, we covered this on a show last night with Tony Boutros there on Global Fact Radio that people can go and listen to. I think I'll put it on my Facebook page. Maybe I'll send you guys a link to it. We talked about what property is, because if your rights are life and liberty and then property, should you not maybe understand what property is and what property rights are? Definitely. Now, this is where the council tax comes in. If you own a chunk of land, a piece of property, and you are the 100% equitable owner, and I don't care if there's a bank mortgage on it, because if there's a bank mortgage, you are still the equitable owner because you owe a debt to somebody. Big deal. Okay? Because as long as you're liable for that debt, well, that's what money is, isn't it? Money's debt?
Yep.
Well, okay, you own the house, so we won't even get into that argument right now. But here's the point of this. Government, and especially the courts operate on the presumption that you are a tenant on that property. They don't see you as the equitable owner. That's the beauty of the courts running on presumptions. And when I mean the beauty for them.
Okay.
The government has rigged the system to operate on presumptions. And one of those presumptions is that you're a tenant on that property. You are not the owner. So they can evict you anytime they want to, because they're actually technically doing it for the protection of the owner of the property. We're evicting your tenant.
Should be yourself. It should be because we're not tenants.
You are the owner.
Owners. Yes.
You are the owner. Now, you could be the tenant, but the owner in another capacity. That could just be another hat you're wearing. So you could contact the government and say, as the owner now, and say, "Hey, this is the owner of the property. I own all equity in that property. I own it fee simple absolute, which means free of condition. I'm forgiving any debt that the tenant may owe. I'm okay with them living there. They have my permission to live there till the end of time, until I don't own the property anymore." Well, what authority do they have to come and evict you now? Because none. Because they're supposed to be working for the owners. That's what government does. They work for the owners. The corporation works for the shareholders.
So that is the step that people need to take with threatened eviction.
You got to realize who you are. With council tax, if you show up as the owner and say, "Well, hey, I'm the owner of that property. Here's my affidavit. In my affidavit, I'm claiming that I own that property fee simple absolute, and here's my definition." In Black's Law Dictionary, it says it's free of condition, which means unconditionally. I own it unconditionally. Property taxes are a condition of ownership. Who in the fuck are you to put a condition on my ownership of property? What is your standing? Can I see your bill of sale, please? They're fucked.
Yes.
They can't operate on their presumptions anymore. You just rebutted all of them with fact, and they can never rebut that.
No. Listen, loads of people are asking for your email and all the rest of it, Dean. basically you were telling me that maybe you had something to talk about, that you had a website coming up or something that you were planning in the near future. Could you let us know about that?
Yeah, well, number one, they can go. I got videos all over YouTube. I don't. I've actually never even recorded myself once ever. I've got people that recorded some of my early days when I was teaching a small group here in Winnipeg. Before, I actually, that stuff was never even supposed to be on the internet. By the way, it was a couple of guys recorded it so they could go home and listen to it a few times, because it takes a few times to understand this stuff, to listen over and over. And that
Sure.
got put on YouTube, and I laughed about it, thinking, for the 100 views that's going to get. Okay, well, here we are today, and we're waking the whole world up now, which is interesting. But there's videos online on YouTube. There's some newer conferences I taught, like the one in Chilliwack. I think the Toronto one we might put up here pretty soon. And I'm doing a radio show now weekly on Global Fact Radio with Tony Boutros is hosting it. It's Canadian, but it's applicable worldwide. This stuff does not apply to any individual nation. Right? Because
Okay.
this is natural law that I'm teaching, how to take control of your property. Your property is your person. You own it all. 100% of your person. You own it. It's yours. And only you say where it goes, when it goes, and how it goes. And nobody has any authority to put any conditions on the use of your person. That's where the contract law comes in. Now, this all sounds very confusing, and I got to remember that for people, especially first-timers, half the people, we had a guy here in Canada, he was laughing when he told me it. He was a young kid. He's like, oh, man, he goes, the first time my friend showed me one of your videos, and it was a very basic video, like primitive stuff compared to now, from 2 years ago. He said after 10 minutes, he said, I started screaming, told him to turn it off. My head can't take anymore.
Okay.
Too much. It's just too much, and it took him a while. And he ended up canceling he didn't watch TV anymore. He made a joke. He goes, I even deleted all the porn off my phone, and I uploaded your videos because this is so much more interesting to me now. I'm hooked. I can't get enough of this shit. And that's what people need to do, right? And so you need to listen to this stuff and start to get accustomed to it. And unfortunately, if you're in shit right now, it's going to be harder because you're under the gun. Don't wait till you're in trouble. Learn your rights now. And after even 6 months, you can talk like me just by reading shit that smart people wrote.
Okay, so our new political party, now a lot of people don't even want to go into the political arena. You stated that you don't really. They should be teaching, or at least espousing these truths to everybody who comes on board, because they do want to. Sorry, go on.
Oh my God! If you guys learned all of this stuff and took over the administration of the government,
yes,
it's game over. It's game
Yes.
over. That's like owning all the shares of a corporation and running the corporation, being the president and CEO and owning it.
Yes.
That's a pretty supreme role. There's no.
Isn't it?
After that, everybody's just employees. You want to talk about a power position? That's it. You are officially God in the.
So if the most uncorruptible and uncorrupted people enter that arena and do on behalf of the people the best they can for the people of Ireland, for example, we're moving into a whole new realm of life here in Ireland, aren't we?
Oh, it would be unprecedented in history. The only thing that could come close would probably be Iceland, who seems to have done something just like that. If they knew some of this stuff as well, and fortunately I think they only have 370,000 people on the whole island?
Yes.
That wouldn't take long to educate those people in this.
Not at all.
This kind of knowledge and running their own government now because their people just wrote their constitution. Isn't that interesting, by the way? Their people wrote their constitution.
Isn't it brilliant? I have an English translation of that constitution that Border Thompson sent to me.
It's not brilliant. It's common sense. The people are supposed to write the constitutions. That's how it works.
Yes.
The people are supposed to draft the constitution that creates their government. That's how they agree to be governed. That's just how it fucking works. But we don't even know that. That's how fucking sad this is.
Well, you're going to be meeting Horder Forverson if we can get him over for this event on the 12th of January, right. Dean.
Yeah, no, absolutely destroy with your political party. Take over, get everybody involved, and educate all the people in your political party on their rights.
Yes.
And we're gonna start a period in human history of enlightenment that is unparalleled since the friggin' whatchamacallit there, the fuck was that thing in Europe there that you guys had?
What, the Lisbon Treaty?
Yeah. That was definitely
Sorry.
that was a crowning achievement of humanity right there.
Wasn't it just?
Yeah, the golden age in Europe there. Fuck, I got brain freeze going on right now.
Well, it's late. You had 2 hours of being
in
here.
the 1600s there, when all the art was being produced and everything. What the hell is that called again?
The Renaissance.
Renaissance. There we go. That's the word I'm thinking about. Isn't it interesting that the period in history when the governments and the banks all collapsed is known as the greatest period in human history, the Renaissance, because there was no fucking governments or banks. What happened when governments and banks collapsed? Gee, the Renaissance. Yeah, that sounds fucking terrible. We better keep bailing the banks out. We don't want them to collapse. We don't want another Renaissance.
Well, I think we do, don't you?
Oh, I kind of do. Yeah, I couldn't have been more sarcastic if I tried there a minute ago.
Okay.
We don't need these fucking people.
No. Well, I actually was present today, and the guys that are running the new party. I have a problem with the name Direct Democracy Ireland. I think it has connotations. I think it's connected to certain other things. They definitely are sound, wonderful individuals, but there is also a naivety there, and we need to learn this stuff, Dean.
Yep. And here's the big thing, too, I guess, because we're coming up to the 4-minute mark now, right? So I will help you guys with this, by the way, too. Anything you guys want to learn or know, I will teach you. We'll pick a couple of people, like Ruth especially, get everybody brought up to speed. So we got like a mentoring program going on. So no, okay. I'm not getting 1,000 emails. I'm getting 2 from the people I'm teaching, and they're teaching the people below them. We'll get a network going here. Okay. But people need to get caught up to speed on this. And the biggest reason people don't get involved in this kind of stuff is fear. Okay, fear that maybe the government's going to come and shoot them or some other stupid reason, okay? I talked about this on my show the other day there with Tony. If there's one thing I can guarantee you right now, at no point in human history has it been easier to fight for your rights. They can't just come and burn you at the stake like they used to when the laws of Nero were in effect, okay?
Absolutely. We can use this era that we're in of transparency, apparent transparency.
Have no fear.
Get it across.
Don't be going and protesting in the streets because you're ignorant and don't know your rights. Stay at home, learn your rights, and effect change the right way. They want us to riot. They want to be able to send in their goons to beat us and shoot us and use their fucking heat rays on us now. Don't be so stupid. Learn your rights, okay? Educated, civilized people don't riot because they're too fucking stupid to learn their rights.
Well, do you know what? Ireland is a nice small country too. We've just got the population of most European cities. So if we can't talk to each other and share this information, then we have a fucking problem, do you know?
Which is great. And here's the other thing too. If people think that the fear of death is a legitimate reason to live like a slave, well, this is why I like the Irish. And no one's ever really been able to conquer the Irish or tell the Irish what to do. We just don't fucking care. Okay? Most of us aren't afraid to die. That's probably why I've gotten so far in this now. I don't give a shit.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it, Dean. I was saying if this was back in the old days when they came in with tanks and guns, should I be with my friends getting a gun and fighting back?
Yeah.
It's banks and debt.
Do this or I'm going to shoot you. Well, fuck you. Fuck you. Shoot me. Do it and see what happens. 20 of my boys are around the corner. Go ahead. Do it. Yep. And here's the thing why, is if there's nothing else in this life I can guarantee, every person that will ever listen to this interview, I can guarantee with 100% certainty this one fact of life. You are going to die one day. You will die.
At some point, sometime towards the end of your life, we die.
You are going to die.
Yes.
Okay, there's no getting around that. So you can either live a miserable existence of a slave, worried about when the government's going to come and get you, or you can fucking grow some balls, you can have some dignity and respect for yourself, and live like a fucking man until the time that you die. So fucking man up already, everybody out there. This is our world. Take it back. We're guardians here. We're supposed to be protecting this place. And instead...
And preparing it for our children, Dean.
Yeah. We're letting these cocksuckers run amok all over the planet, killing the fucking place so that we can live maybe a little bit longer without the government coming and pushing us around and throwing us in jail for a month. Are you fucking kidding me? Fuck, man up.
Okay, well, I think there is global change going on. I think the sharing of information, like Dean, you've been an absolute star tonight. I'm telling you. I'm sure that I'm going to be re-listening to this pod, and I've got loads of questions for you in the future from it. I really hope that people have enjoyed you and the things that you've been saying, and I've certainly tried to answer as many questions and you have as they've put to us. Dean, thank you so much for coming on Out of the Bag on TNS Radio. Yep. And Ruth Kelly is actually sat on a sofa behind me and says big waves and hugs to you, Dean.
Lovely. We're going to get her up to speed, and she's going to be a force to contend with over there.
I certainly, she is already, Dean. She is already. Yeah. Okay. And many, many more people out there need to come up to speed too. And when we do, Ireland will be the domino effect for the rest of the world.
You guys in Ireland could be these shining lights in the world where mankind has entered a new age for everybody else to follow your example. And people out there should not be overwhelmed by what we're talking about, okay? I am not a genius. I am far from a genius. In fact, most days I can't remember where I put my keys for my truck, okay? I just turned off the TV, I got pissed off and had enough, and I started reading and learning and starting to exercise the logic centers of my brain again, okay? You're not going to be a bodybuilder your first day back at the gym, but you will be within months. Your brain is a muscle. Exercise it. It'll all come back to you.
Practice makes perfect,
TV
Dean.
off. There you
Practice
go. Turn the
makes
TV
perfect.
off. Start thinking, talking with people, having conversations. I mean, I've heard the quote a million times, if the Irish never invented whiskey, they would have taken over the world, and I think that probably is the case.
I
and
think
not a
it
case
probably
of whiskey.
is.
So, yeah. No, there's some good times ahead. Everybody should just don't feel overwhelmed and don't get frustrated and just be open to learning and let's do this shit. Let's take our world back.
Absolutely. Dean Clifford, thank you so much for coming on Out of the Bag. I want you to come on fairly soon too in the future. Listen, I've just been asked to give you a poem before I go. I'm just a simple poet, Dean, okay? And I'm learning all this stuff and meeting amazing people in my short time on this planet. So I'm gonna, for you, dip my hand into the bag and bring out of the bag a poem for you, okay? No idea what's coming out.
Now, is this a limerick or a poem?
They're all poems. They're really, really short. But you know what? This is called Time Will Tell. And time is telling. We're running slightly over, and I apologize to whoever's next on TNS. But this is called Time Will Tell, and it goes like this. Trapped inside the confines of conditioned perception, we slide and glide through journeys of realization and truth. Secrets hidden deep within the walls of blatant deception detract us from enjoying eternal youth. Remember the child inside you struggling hard to understand why we fight and war and strive to be supreme. Materialism forgets that there may be a promised land, and it's in reality, not just in a dream. Voices should be heard when they speak of peace and love, man, not ridiculed and made to live in hell. Happiness, it's contagious, and it lifts us up above, man, and the saving of our earth, well, time will tell.
Woohoo!
I love it.
Thank you.
Love it.
So that plenty more where that came from, Dean.
That's great. You read a poem every time. I love movies. I can quote 2 movies right now. Number 1, I can quote Dune. Without change, something inside us sleeps. Okay?
Absolutely.
We're asleep. We wake up and there's your children. We hear our voices again when we start to change and become better people and expand. And I'm sure everybody's watched Braveheart. So I'll tell you right now, die in your cowards all you want when you're 90 years old, but I'll be fucked if somebody's going to tell me what to do with my life.
Absolutely.
Fuck
Dean,
you, come and
it's been
shoot me now.
Pleasure. Well,
Perfect.
no one's gonna shoot you because you shoot from the lip, not just from the hip.
Oh, zing.
And I love
all right.
it.
Up the rebellion. Let's go.
Yeah, let's start this. Let's do this. Let's get out there and shake up the world.
Yep. Use the most dangerous weapon we have, knowledge. Let's go.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you so much. And thank you to all you TNS listeners out there listening to Out of the Bag. We have an absolute doozy for you next week as well, where we should be having Max Egan coming on the show. So by crikey, we're hitting you with the big guns. Dean Clifford, thank you so much. Roger Hayes, earlier, thank you. Vin, absolutely brilliant. And we're going to have a bit of audio and then a song.
Yep. Looking forward to seeing everybody in January.
Thanks, Dean. Thank you.
All right.